Hey friends, it's Ari, and thanks for watching my or listening to my sketch number 2, which is I'm gonna call it Relentless because it's got a pretty relentless groove there. Um, when I decided that I was gonna do this riff, or I want to turn that riff into a more of a sketch, I got for some reason I got super excited, and it's something that I obsessed about for the last 5-6 days or so. Um, it just really made me realize that I'm a metalhead, really. And for my own like solo music and the music that I do with other people, I've stayed more on the rock side. But man, it just making metal, it just really turned me on. And I think this is one of the amongst the heaviest, almost stereotypically metal piece that I've done. I can't think of anything else that's more sort of, again, sort of quintessential metal element. And it just was really fun to put it together. But it was challenging too. I didn't quite have the guitar tone right, and I have this sound in my head, kind of like a early King's X sound, but it's a lot more ferocious and defined and tight. Where it's sweet and warm, but also articulate and heavy kind of thing. And I think I'm kind of getting there. I now have a Fractal Audio AX8, which allows me to tweak and make custom amp sound that is really working for me. It's really fun to play with. And I spent way too much time trying to come up with a great tone, and I'm happy with what I got, although it's still a bit on the, again, sort of a stereotypical metal side, and I want something even more unique and personalized eventually. And I had other thoughts about, what I could do with this sketch, and I had ideas about, like a lead guitar or melody, and during the chorus part, I could do my typical, like a halftime, trick with the drums and stuff. And I just spent way too much time getting the sound and arrangements right. It was kind of challenging, so I just decided that I'm just gonna put it out with just verse and chorus thing a couple times and just call it a day and move on to something else. But I could return to this and develop it some more, so if you guys really like it, let me know in the comments. Anyway, it's a very, again, I keep saying this, but quintessential metal part, and what makes it metal is not just the guitar tone, but this in the key of E, this F, half step up, and that's a very dissonant note. That and that and then of course tritone, are the two sort of real gnarly dissonant chords that are used really commonly in metal, and that's part of the why it sounds so ugh, right? And my guitar tone itself isn't very harsh, but it sounds harsh because of that sound. And then I came up with the chorus part sort of on the spot after I started turning this into more of a sketch. I go something like, and then that little low fret bend thing is another sort of gnarly touch. I learned it from Alice in Chains, famously. What's that song? Check My Brain has that idea in his riff, and I was like, oh man, that's a great idea, so I stole that. Although you're just really probably just getting like a quarter step at most out of it, it just sounds like it's bigger than it is, and it just makes it really interesting. The other trick I do is this, this is a power chord with just, but it's a root and fifths below. And I do that often. I just, instead of doing this traditional power chord like this, it sounds a lot heavier if you do the, the fifths under it. That's a trick I learned from my bandmate Josh Wardrip like 20 years ago. He was a drummer in the band I was playing with, but much better guitar player than I was and I still am. But he taught me that trick, and I've never played like a simple chord, power chord since then. Anyway, this main riff was really confounding to me. That for the longest time I couldn't figure out what the drum part will go well with that. So I'm gonna play you a little bit of like an earlier version of one that I thought I settled on that, but I listened to it. I'm like, no, that's not it. And anyway, it just doesn't work quite right. Here it is. Alright, so that drum part is a little more conventional, and it just I just felt it was really ordinary, didn't really sound interesting. So the other part of this is that one of the things that I look for in metal is it's really common in metal for the guitar and bass to do the same thing, and I think there's a time and place to do that for sure, but when everything is default, like guitar and bass doing together, I always feel like, that's so predictable and stuff. And when one of my ideas for rock music is to like think of it almost like a modal jazz, in that like there are like different lines going sort of simultaneously, not necessarily like perfectly synchronized with each other, but it kind of creates this weaving of threads that turns it interesting. And so that's kind of the idea. So I played with the bass part for quite a bit, and then I settled on a part that is in the recording. So here, let me switch to bass, and then I'll show you. So with a riff like that, it's common thing to do, I thought, is first of all, you could play the same thing as the guitar. The other thing is to like really simplify and then just stay on the low E. So just to demonstrate how that sounds like, I created a quick take with those parts. I'm gonna start out playing just a straight E, and then I'm gonna copy the guitar part. Here's what it sounds like. especially after I figure out the right drum parts. It's okay. But for my ideal, I wanted something that's a little more interesting, for lack of a better word. Something just different. So finally, what I settled on is finally what I settled on is this. And in fact, it's that rhythm, that galloping feel that actually inspired me to actually have the drums play that as well. So it's an interesting process where I started out with a guitar riff, which was playing a certain riff and certain rhythm, and then I looked for complementary rhythm from drums and bass, and actually drums and bass end up doing something that really don't correlate closely with the guitar itself, but it works. So it's like the guitar doing one thing and then the bass and drums doing something else, and I just thought it was interesting how the whole evolution happened. Anyway, so I have a fairly it was a challenge to mix a little bit, in that guitar is fairly down low, and then the bass have to be somewhat bright to really so that you can tell the bass is doing something different, but not get it too muddy in the picture. And so I struggle with that. Again, it's just I don't have as much experience with this type of sounds and stuff like that. So let me know how it comes across. I'm okay with how it turned out. I think it's getting there. I think it's competent for a mature closet metalhead. So anyway, I had a lot of fun putting this together, and I hope to do more metal-like things from here on, now that I really realize that I'm really into this. So hopefully you come along with me. It's a little different from the other kind of stuff that I do, but it's really a lot of fun, so I'm gonna keep doing it. All right. Anyway, so thanks for checking out. I appreciate it. I'll see you next time.
Suffocating, alone now, I bleed.